Hello everybody and welcome or welcome back to the second shelf and to another recent reads on Sunday, in which I discuss the books that I've recently finished or just started or still working on. Yes, there are a couple of books I'm still working on. But first, the books that I finished. The first one I want to talk about was a buddy read with Heidi from My Reading Life. I don't think she put up a review yet, but I'm sure she will, and that is Gloria Naylor, Mama Day. This is also the pick Kim's book club, the Blind Eye book club, Kim from Middle of the Book March. This is her February pick, and I think today is the 19th. I think we will discuss it next week. But if you are a member of the book club and don't want to be spoiled because you're still reading the book, just skip this part of the video and resume when I talk about the next book. Gloria Naylor, I was an African-American, a black U.S. American writer, that was the word, who unfortunately died when she was in her mid-60s only, I think in 2016 or something. Excuse me. And I've read her debut novel, The Women of Brewster Place, I think a year or two ago, and that was absolutely fabulous. This one, I loved parts of it, but some parts just did not work as well for me, and that is mainly the magical realism part. So the book is set in an imaginatory, a fictitious, a fictional, an invented island or peninsula off the coast. No, it is an island. There's only a bridge. So an island off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, Willow Springs. And one of the main characters is Mama Day, Miranda Day, and her sister Abigail. They are both in their 80s. The book is set in the 1980s, between 1981 and 1987 or something. And there is also Abigail's granddaughter, Ophelia, who lives in New York. So the narrative is split in the beginning between New York and Willow Springs. And we follow Ophelia in New York trying to make a living, trying to be, to find a job, a career, being a professional woman, and then she meets George, and their relationship is a big portion of the book. And the other part of the book is the life of Mama Day, Miranda, who is a healer with some magical realism abilities, but she's not a sorcerer. So there are definite limits to what she can do, but she has a connection to the magical. That's all I'm gonna say. And then at a certain point, these two stories converge when Ophelia and George visit Mama Day and Abigail on the island Willow Springs, and plot takes off from there. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to spoil you if you haven't read it yet and are planning to. What I really loved is certainly the way that Gloria Naylor is able to paint characters, to make characters alive without much description, but it's as if she gives you the characters from the inside out. So not, the face value, so to speak, but really from the inside out. And that is fantastic. Her writing style is amazing. It's just a pleasure to read her. I'm not doing that well with magical realism, to be honest. I did not enjoy, quote unquote, the relationship between George and Ophelia that much. It is, a toxic relationship on purpose, I would say, to to make a point, that some people are just not meant to be together. I don't quite understand why a lot of reviewers say this is a love story. I mean, it's not that they don't love each other, but they are not meant to be together. That is my conclusion from the start, by the way. It's not a spoiler, because when they first meet in the first 2 chapters, you know that they are not supposed to be together. And another thing that I'm just not a big fan of is the second person. So the parts of George and Ophelia are narrated from their respective point of views in the second person, as if they were talking to their lover. So George is talking to Ophelia, Ophelia is talking to George, and it's in the second person. That doesn't work for me as well. So Brewster Place will still be my favorite of Naylor. I'm certainly going to read more of her. She hasn't written that much, but this was partly wonderful and partly just didn't quite work for me. And now it's, you won't see that if you haven't watched it. So forget what I just said. The other book that I finished was also a buddy read, but was a reread for me. As you know, if you follow my channel, Adam, formerly from Memento Mori, as always, his Instagram will be linked below. We are slowly but surely making our way through Ursula Le Guin's work. And this month we picked Lathe of Heaven, which was published in the 70s, I think. 71, 1971. Oh, and the Gloria Naylor, by the way, 1988, but I said it's set in the 80s. So this was 1971. It's a standalone, so not one of her famous series, the Earthsea or what have you. And it's one of my favorite, spoiler alert, it's one of my absolute favorite Ursula Le Guin novels, for sure. It's my second time to reread it. So the third read, if you count my encounter with it in German a long time ago. And with every reread, I'm discovering something new. And even though I know the story, I know how it will end, I know what it will happen, the book still surprises me. So yeah. The main theme of the book is dreams. And no, don't stop the video and go away. I don't like books about dreams either. Not even in a normal a fiction, a novel, when the narrator has a dream and there's 10 pages of how the dream goes. I hate that. I have to admit, there is a dream sequence in my first book, in my debut novel, but yeah, that's another story. So I'm not a person interested or captivated that much by dreams. I mean, I think dreams can be valuable, and sometimes I dream stuff that I think, that makes sense, but it's not something that I'm like to read about. And still, I love this book. So even if you don't like dreams in fiction, you will still, or you might still love this book. So it's set in the future. I mean, when it was written, it was the future, so it is the 21st century. And our main character, there are 2 main characters, and one is George Orr, O-R-R. And he is a draftsman. He likes to do technical stuff, paintings, but he also has what he calls effective dreams. So if he dreams something, it will become a reality, and not in the sense that he dreams that he will win the lottery and the next day he will win the lottery. He changes the past, so to speak. So if he dreams that, I don't know, the days are now not 24 hours, but 30 hours, it will have always been that way. And people won't remember that days had been 24 hours. That's not in the book, by the way, but George does. And he hates it. He hates that his dreams are effective, and he tries to find a way to get rid of these dreams, or at least the effectiveness of the dreams. And for various reasons explained in the book, he has to undergo psychotherapy. And a psychotherapist is assigned to him, and that is Dr. Haber. And Dr. Haber realizes, also for reasons that will be made clear in the book, what happens, and he is using George to make the world the way he thinks the world should be. And he is benevolent. So he's trying to make the world a better place with the help or use or abuse of George. And that's the story. That's all I'm going to tell you, because otherwise the plot will be spoiled. But Ursula Le Guin is so brilliant in how she develops this theme, how she lets us go on this journey with George and Dr. Haber, asking questions like, do the means justify the end? If you really make the world a better place, is it okay if in the process you kill 2 billion people? Nobody will remember that, because nobody does remember anything, but is that okay? And also this idea not only of playing God, obviously, but that actions have consequences that you might not foresee. You might think it's a good idea to have, I don't know, something that's not in the book, the season changed, but there might be consequences that you haven't even thought of, and you will have to live with that. So the story is brilliant, the characters are brilliant, the way Le Guin explores this premise, fantastic. If you haven't read The Lathe of Heaven and you want to give Ursula Le Guin a try, this might be a good start, because it is a standalone. It's not hardcore sci-fi. It is speculative fiction. So don't expect, your typical sci-fi, lots of technology, new tech, or aliens, even though there are aliens in the book, but it's much more a speculative fiction novel than your, typical quote unquote sci-fi. But it's absolutely brilliant. And thank God Adam liked it too. It was his first time, so I was really pleased that he thought the book was really very, very good. Then the book I'm still working on is this chunker, Barbara Tuchman, A Distant Mirror. The subtitle, The Calamitous 17th Century, and that's what the book is about. It is about the 17th century, and I was just checking publication date, losing my bookmark here, 1978. This is the February pick of Steve's new book club, the Steve Tiberius Donahue book club, and we are reading this one in February, and he is making regular videos. We're now 2/3 in, and we will finish up the book next week, the last week of February. And it is just what it says on the cover. It is an exploration of the 14th century in Europe, focusing mainly on France and England. There's a little bit of Italy, there's a little bit of Spain, there's a little bit of Germany and Austria, but the main powers at that time are the Pope, 2 popes at some point, and England and France. And the book follows one particular Frenchman through that calamitous 14th century with the plague and with the 2 popes. And it's, if you're interested in a really well-told story of that century, of that 14th century, I can certainly recommend Barbara Tuchman's book. It's fabulous. There's a lot of war, and it is a quite detailed story of that particular century. So give it the first couple of chapters a try, maybe download a sample, because if that's not your type of book, you will not like it. The first couple of chapters are pretty give a pretty good picture of how the book is told, but she can really tell a story. So I'm loving it. I think I said already that I had this book on my shelf for 11 years, and finally, because Steve had the book club, I'm reading it. Then I have 3 books that I've just started. The first one is my February pick for the 12 classics that I decided to read in 2023. And I picked, or the lottery picked, Olive Schreiner, The Story of an African Farm, first published in 1883. Olive Schreiner was a white South African writer and activist, and this is her novel about life on an African farm. I'm only about 15 pages in, so it's too early to tell. I will have the video up next Sunday, I think. Let me check my schedule. I think, the 26th. The 26th, the review will go up, and then I will also pick the book for March. And the other book I've really just a couple of minutes ago started is this one, nonfiction, A Bigger Picture by Vanessa Nakati. This is our author. She is a young activist. Is it Uganda? I always think she's Nigerian, but she is, Uganda, from Uganda. And this is her account of what we should do to combat climate change, and especially with the focus on African countries. This is the pick of the Book Naturalist book club, run by Heidi from My Reading Life, whom I mentioned earlier, and Doris from All the Books. So this is, I'm a little late to the party because it is already the 19th, but we have the whole month of February, and Heidi tends to make her video, and Doris as well, really towards the end of the month. So I hope it's not huge, it's only 200 pages, so I really hope that I will be able to finish this in time. And the last one, the last book I want to talk to you about is also a buddy read, another kind of, chill project with Terri from Miss Terri Reads, who recently returned to BookTube, which is fantastic. And we are reading Tana French's novels. We are making our way now through the Dublin Murder Mysteries, and in February reading part 5, The Secret Place. Is that right? I'm bad with types of, The Secret Place, not A Secret Place, but The Secret Place. And it is the 5th in the series. And we have Stephen, whom we encountered already 2 books ago, and a female lead detective, Antoinette Conway, and they have to solve the mystery of a dead schoolboy. And so it's a campus kind of novel, dark academia. The case has been almost cold. It's a year ago, and we are just in the middle now of trying to revive this case because there's new information coming on. And I really enjoyed Tana French, her books and the Dublin Murder Mysteries. So we started this last week, so there will be more once I have finished. Those are the books that I wanted to talk to you about in my recent reads. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm very much looking forward to your comments, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.